Hi, this is Catherine Roseanne with Board Game Geek here at SPIEL 2017. I'm sitting here with Duncan Malloy from Osprey Games, and he's here to talk about London.
So, this is the second edition of London. We've made a few changes, and we've made it real pretty.
Yes.
So,
with this awesome box. It opens like a book. Look at that. Sorry,
don't be. So this is a new edition of a classic Martin Wallace game. It's a tableau builder. The core premise is that at the Great Fire of 1666, most of London was destroyed. Yeah. And we play the role of developers who are trying to build the city up again over time.
After this fire has devastated the city, right?
Exactly. So in essence, it's a tableau builder, but because it's a Wallace, it has more things to keep track of than you might necessarily think, and they all interlock in really, really fun little ways. So on your turn, you're going to have a hand of cards, and you have one of 4 possible options. So you'll always draw a card at the start of your turn, and then you can either draw 3 extra cards, and whenever you draw a card, you can either take one from the top of the deck, or any of the ones that are face up here in the center of the table. Or you can buy a piece of land, which you would just pay the cost of, put it in front of you, and if you notice, each of these has 3 symbols down here. These are things that immediately happen. So you immediately get some cards, some points, and remove some poverty. We'll get to poverty in a second. Alternatively, you can play cards, which to do so you would just place a card down on the table and discard a card of the same color to the tableau. So whenever you discard a card, you're making those cards available to other players.
Exactly. And I just have to say the artwork on these cards is beautiful.
Thank you. So there's no limit to how many you can play, as long as you can afford them. And another action then on a later turn is what's called running your city. So you would activate all of the cards that you had previously played. Mm-hmm. That's the core of the game, but that's not the meat of the game. And the meat of the game is this. When I run my city, I take all of these actions, and if you notice, I'll just point them out here on this copy here. It might be a little easier to make out. Some have a symbol in this corner, which is a cost you must pay before you can take that action. Then anything here in the middle of the card is the benefit you get, and then occasionally you will have to flip that card face down at the end of your turn.
All right.
So you can activate as many as you like in any order, and then you generate poverty. So every stack of cards you have, regardless of whether or not they're face up or face down, generates 1 poverty.
All right.
Any loan you've taken at any point during the game generates
poverty.
Any card you have in your hand will generate poverty.
Oh, okay.
So the core of the game is trying to maximize the efficiency of when you take your actions. And the effect that poverty has is that at the end of the game it's worth negative victory points, but it's only worth negative victory points relative to the poverty that the other players have. So if you're thinking of what you're building as your kind of legacy in terms of how you'll be remembered in the life of the city, it sounds horrendous, but if everyone is terrible to the poor, then it's the monuments that you've built that will have been more important.
Exactly.
But if you're seen as an absolute miser who treated people really poorly, it doesn't matter how impressive your structures have been.
People are still going to hate you. Right?
Exactly. So at the end of the game, everybody counts up their poverty. Whoever has the least poverty discards all of it, and everybody else discards the same amount. And then every additional poverty you have is worth an escalating number of negative points.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, so there's a mix of kind of active points that you earn as you play, and then kind of hidden points, which you have on some of the structures that you build, which come in at the end of the game. So you can tend to keep an eye on how people are doing, but you can also pay to obfuscate that information a little bit. And that's the game.
And players' time?
Oh, fair, yeah. Sorry. Plays roughly 70 to 90 minutes, 2 to 4 players.
2 to 4, so under 90-minute game. That's nice length.
There was a lot, particularly the first edition, which came out, I think, 8, maybe 9 years ago. There was a slight dissatisfaction with the 2-player game because there were particular strategies that meant that it was easy to snowball for one individual player. So most of the changes that we've made have either been to balance those out to make the 2-player version of the game more satisfying, or to make each individual decision a little meatier, so that there's no default assumed strategy. You have to think a little more tactically in terms of what's available to you.
And if you then have been able to think through those things, then what do you deserve?
Well,
right?
I mean, yeah. So that's London.
Thank you so much. Like I said, this beautiful artwork, new edition, a couple tweaks. That is London from Osprey Games.
Very much.
Thank you.